Good morning, afternoon, and evening. Welcome to this short symposium about internet or digital addiction. First, as I start, what is digital or internet addiction? Based on its time to log off, digital addiction is a developing compulsive need to use your digital devices to the extent where it interferes with your life and stop you from doing things you need to do. Now, let us differentiate what is digital addiction and internet addiction. Let's go first with internet addiction. It is a behavioral addiction in which a person becomes dependent on using internet or any other online devices. Sometimes, it is considered as a disorder. Internet addiction disorder because the person uses internet excessively, while the definition of digital addiction is referred to an impulsive control disorder that involves the obsessive use of digital devices, digital technologies, and digital platforms. Both are quite considered as disorders. Both have many side effects in which is clearly not good for our health. So we need to do something to stop this kind of addiction. Social media is also one of the reasons why people stay at their phones. Some people want to keep in touch with their loved ones, and some of people just know what is trending and what people post in their Facebook. Some of them use it in the negative way, like browsing and browsing, but nothing is really happening. And the good way, they use Facebook to update or watch news every day. On the other hand, Instagram, where people post their stories, and Twitter, where they post their feelings. YouTube also can take your time. Also, they are negative and positive. Negative since they watch until morning, and positive since we also can learn in their content.
Welcome to the second part of our short symposium where we are discussing about digital or internet addiction. In this part, we will discuss about the causes of digital or internet addiction for some people or many people experience. The first one that seems to be the cause of digital or internet addiction is the lack of emotional support of a person, which they find or they tend to find emotional support in the internet more than they can find in outside of digital world. So another is they find entertainment in the internet, especially nowadays that we can go outside to entertain ourselves with physical activities that before we normally do. So some people tend to play games to entertain themselves by watching videos in the social medias more, especially now that we are locked in our house. So we tend to use our phones more than we normally do before. And another one is digital gives satisfaction for many. In a way, when they interact with other people through social media, they feel accepted and not alone. So another reason why people are afraid or are getting addicted to digital world is because they're afraid of missing out of the new trends, the updates, and the news that they can get in social media or in the internet. One person said in this research of Harvard University that the longer they don't go to any of their social medias, the more they feel disconnected or are isolated from the world. So people nowadays tend to really focus more on the internet more than what is happening in real life. The last one that I'm gonna discuss for the causes of digital addiction is kind of sensitive for others because it tackles about mental health conditions which are anxiety and depression. Some people who has this get addicted get addicted in using the internet or their digital devices because they get distracted while surfing the internet. Um, they get distracted or entertained by the post or by videos that they can watch online. They tend to forget what causes their conditions, but they also tend to forget how long they are using their phones or their their digital devices. So yeah, that's it for my part. I hope you learn a thing or two, and thank you for listening. Let us see the next speaker for the digital addiction.
Okay, let's start my speech with the quote, disconnect to connect. So now I am talking about the effects of digital addiction. So what is digital addiction? For me, it is a kind of impulse control disorder in which the person is exposed to the harmful effects of technology as a result of excessive use of computers, internet, video games, and mobile devices. It is also a term for game addiction, computer addiction, and internet addiction. So this type of addiction can encompass a variety of activities, but most commonly used to describe someone who is excessively engaged in online gambling, gaming, pornography, online shopping, or social media. The term is also used for someone who is addicted to their smartphone in general, meaning they use it all the time and cannot stop. While digital addiction can impact a person's relationships, work, or school performance, it can also have some serious and unpleasant effects. Okay, so when a person develops a digital addiction, they'll often experience deep and intense feelings of guilt, which is the feeling that a person has failed with an obligation or done something wrong. The more a person uses their smartphone or internet, the more they seek out the feelings of pleasure they get from their online activities. For a person with a digital addiction, both anxiety and depression are often intertwined with their addiction. Someone who has a digital addiction is at a higher risk of developing anxiety and depression. Isolation is a huge problem in today's digital world. As people become increasingly invested online, particularly in social media, they lose important relationships with real people. The short-term effects of an online addiction include unfinished tasks, forgotten responsibilities, and weight gain. Long-term effects are seen more in the physical symptoms, such as backache, neck pain, carpal tunnel syndrome, and vision problems from staring at the screen. According to Oberlin College of Computer Science, aside from being dependent on the internet, addicts may develop technostress, wherein they internalize how a computer works, such as accelerated time and perfect results. It can also cause social withdrawal, feeling more at ease interacting with people online rather in person. Being overly connected can cause psychological issues such as distraction, narcissism, expectation of instant gratification, and the most common, depression. Professor Rosen of California State University, Dominguez Hills, conducted a study of high school students to determine how technological distractions affected their study habits. He discovered that students could concentrate for an average of a measly 3 minutes at a stretch. The major culprit behind their lack of focus? Technology. Since the emergence of the internet and smartphones, research is showing an increase in the number of people struggling with an addiction to technology. It's not uncommon for both youth and adults to feel a need to constantly be plugged in to social media and the internet. But this often leads to a fear of missing out and fear of being left out in young people. While it may seem that losing yourself online will temporarily make feelings such as loneliness, depression, and boredom evaporate into thin air, it can actually make you feel even worse. A 2014 study found a correlation between high school media usage and depression and anxiety. Users, especially teens, tend to compare themselves unfavorably with their peers on social media, promoting feelings of loneliness and depression. One researcher found that the mere presence of a phone or other device nearby tends to make people more anxious and perform poorly on given tasks. The heavier the user, the greater anxiety experience. The persistent buzz of your device can distract you from important tasks, slow your work, and interrupt those quiet moments that are so crucial to creativity and problem solving. So to sum it up, the effects of digital addiction are depression, feeling of guilt of overusing technologies, anxiety, euphoria feelings when using technology, inability to determine priorities, isolation from one's social environment, losing the concept of time, extreme defense of usage habit, avoiding work, poor performance at work or school, avoidance of responsibilities, sudden mood changes, fear of not having access to the internet or the technology, feeling of loneliness, and worst, memory loss. I am Micaela Casario D. Pelayo, and this is the effects of digital addiction. Thank you.
Good day, I am Tricia Harter-Ben, a grade 12 Accountancy Business and Management student from the Lyceum of the Philippines University, Manila, from the section Runner. I am here to discuss about 3 tips on how to avoid digital or internet addiction, which, as we all know, is a common problem that can be just as damaging as any other form of addiction. So the first tip that I can give to you is to keep a log. Keeping a log can help you be more aware and mindful of how much time you spend on the internet. This tip can make it easier for you to strategize on how you will lessen your screen time. You can use any screen time timer application to monitor how much time you spend using your phone daily and weekly. The second tip is to set a timer or schedule a time. Setting a timer or making a schedule can help you set a limit to the amount of time that you can only use in browsing the media. For example, 1 to 2 hours per day, or if you want to have your time scheduled by time block, you can also do so. It's up to you whether how many hours and time blocks will you set for yourself. Finally, the third tip is to create distractions for yourself. In this way, you can postpone your internet use, but then of course, you should avoid distractions that includes the usage of the internet. Instead, you can do several activities like exercising, playing board games with your family or friends, playing other sports like basketball, volleyball, badminton, and such. Or you can choose to be more productive. If you are a student, you may do your schoolworks, you may review your lessons, or study for the next day. On the other hand, if you are already working, then do your paperwork or other work-related activities. In summary, if you are concerned that you may be too dependent on the internet, there are several strategies you can use to curb your internet usage. So, you can start by limiting how long you allow yourself to use the internet, such as by keeping a diary of your internet use and specifying when you will allow yourself to log on. You can also remove the temptation to go online by shutting off devices, putting devices in another room to charge, or unplugging your Wi-Fi. Developing healthy habits can also help you to cut back on your internet use and feel better overall. To close, I want you all to remember that It may not be easy to change the way you act or change the things you are already used to do every day, but with self-control and self-determination, you can do it. That's all. Thank you and God bless you.